G'day, g'day, and welcome back to my channel. It's Australian Guy Films, and I'm Pitbull Nut. And today, Chili and I were invited by a couple of new friends that we met on San Miguel Island in the Azores to go for a drive across the island and take a look at Furnas. And Furnas is a volcanic crater on San Miguel Island. And down inside the crater is a pair of lakes. One's green, one's blue. You can only see one from this angle, but there's also a little village down there called Furnas. Now, this is a beautiful, beautiful spot. My friends are extremely proud of it, except the fact that the tourists seem to be taking over and there's very little parking for locals anymore. It's an unbelievably beautiful spot. Now, up here on the lookout, we're right up on the top edge of the volcanic lip, and you get to look down at the village and the lakes down below. And I gotta say, it is quite spectacular. I really am impressed with how all the fields are not separated by fences, but they're separated by foliage. And I'm not quite sure the name of the plant, but I understand it is, well, it can get you a little trippy if you try to smoke it, but can also kill you. And the cows all know that it's poisonous to them, so they stay away from it. And therefore they get to mark the boundaries of their fields with it without having to use fences. So we didn't stay up on the lip of the volcano long. We went back down into the village, and on the way down we were talking about sweets and desserts, and so we stopped and we bought some famous bread with cheese and ham. And then we went to one of the springs, the many springs you find on the island. All of the bottled water on the island is actually taken from these springs, but you don't need to buy it. You can go to the spring yourself and fill up your own bottle. And here we are driving through the village of Furnas that's down in the volcanic crater itself. And we were going for a bit of a drive around, so we decided we'd stop and get ourselves some fruits. A beautiful day we were having today. It was a little bit hot, and the fruits came along just at the right time.
You have some kind of knife.
Quite refreshing.
You have a knife.
So then we continued on, and we were going down to the crater itself at this point. We were going down to have a look at the lake, and as you'll see in a few moments, not only is the drive quite spectacular, but there's all these little picnic areas along the way that the local people on weekends fill up and have themselves family barbecues and picnics. Now, the cars are quite small, but I was really impressed that it fit 4 humans and Chili, and we made it down to the lake quite comfortably. Now, as you can see, the steam rising from across the other side of the lake. That's not a forest fire. Here we come walking over to the cauldrons, and these roots on the ground from the trees were quite amazing. And here's the cauldrons themselves. There's signs everywhere saying "Do not touch, very hot."
You didn't see that.
This particular cauldron has boardwalks around it, so you can actually walk around and have a good look quite safely. So I got my drone up and taking a look at the cauldrons from the sky. I gotta say, the sulfur smells like rotten eggs or football socks. I'm not quite sure which. And maybe you notice all these little mounds of dirt. Well, these aren't moles, these aren't underground animals. These are actually cooking furnaces. The local people have hollowed them out into a tube about 4 or 5 feet deep, and they lower a pot of food down, and they can cook themselves a stew. The island's quite famous for this stew. Some of the restaurants actually bring their food here to be cooked, and therefore some of the restaurants actually need a reservation to know how many people are going to eat. They put the pots down in the earth, put a lid on the hole, and then cover it with dirt, and they leave it there for 4 to 6 hours. And it uses the thermal heating from the volcano to actually cook the food for them. I'm yet to try it, but I'm sure before I leave the island I will get to go visit Tony's restaurant over in Punta Delgada,
And what is this?
which seems to be one of the most famous restaurants for dining in this most traditional way. So there's a close-up
So in
of
the
the
bottom
pots,
of this hole is
or
one of
rather
these
the
little
holes in the ground that they put the pots for cooking.
Great.
And as you can
But
see
it
from
doesn't
this
bubble over
cauldron,
into this
some
one.
of them are not clean water. This one was really, really dirty, muddy ash. and right alongside it was another cauldron that was just steam, but strangely the molten mud or ash or whatever it is wasn't bubbling over and down into the other one. They were actually separated by a kind of a solid mud wall. So this garden was right above the cauldrons, and I gotta say it's quite spectacular. I'm sure the volcanic earth is very rich, and therefore they could grow just about anything, but with the exception of the rotten egg smell, this is an absolutely gorgeous place. But my friends say that they get used to the rotten egg smell and kind of reminds them of home when they're not there and they smell eggs cooking. Don't know how long it would take to get used to, but I found it to be a little bit on the nose. One kind of cool thing here in this area is all the wild cats. The feral cats all come down here. This whole forest area is full of tables and barbecues and cats and geese and ducks. And
What's not to like?
Unfortunately for Chilim, I didn't want him out there this time. I didn't want him to make a mistake and step in one of the cauldrons. So here we are off on another mystery ride again. We're riding around the lake. I was told to have the camera ready because there was something coming up that was really, really pretty. And not only is the scenery pretty, but all these ancient old cobblestone roads are kind of pretty too. Sorry for the shaky camera, but the cobblestones didn't help. So there's Chili in his most comfortable state of being in a car with his nose out the window, checking out the smells. And here we are coming up on the only Gothic church on the island of San Miguel. Now this is a privately owned church. The family does still own it from the original owners who built it for his wife once she died. So I'm sure there's a family mausoleum inside, but it is all locked up and no access to the public in this church. But it is one of the most pretty stone buildings I've seen on the island, sitting right there on the lake. And we're at the lake just at about sunset, which made the lake's colors particularly beautiful. So the old stone church, it didn't have a date on it, but a little bit of research and I'm sure you could figure out how old it is. And if anybody does figure it out, then please drop that in the comments. I'd love to know, but to be honest, couldn't really be bothered checking myself. Well, we're coming to the end of this video. If you've liked this video, it's the next in my series of the Azores Islands. I'll be popping out a few more videos while I'm here. Whenever I get a chance to go and visit something that I've never seen before, I think you'd like, I will make every effort to get as much footage as possible and make it into something that makes sense for you. So if you do like this video and you like my traveling videos with me and Chili the traveling dog, then please hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing and it tells YouTube that at some point they got to start paying me for this. I'm not doing it for the money, I'm doing it because I just love to travel, and what better way to share your travels with people than to show them where you go. I'm kind of extending my stay here in the Azores. I've met some pretty cool people, and there's a festival coming up in the village that I'm staying at in a couple of weeks' time. With nothing else on the plans for me, nowhere to go and no job to go to, no home, no family, then I think I might just stay here and enjoy the weather here because it is quite spectacular. So that's the end of this video. So if you did enjoy it, please hit that subscribe button. Share it with friends if you think they'd like the Azores. And don't forget, I always look at comments as being conversation starters. So if you got something to say to me or about the video, then take the time and drop a comment. Here we are on the way home, and I've been told that you can expect all 4 seasons in one day. We had one big thunderstorm a couple of days ago, and the colors tonight were absolutely gorgeous.